Hi, my name's John Cordy, and as a child I looked up to my father. He was 6'4", and we'd go to church together and stuff, and I always used to sort of emulate him. And so in church, when we stood up for the songs, I'd stand up for the songs, and when he slept for the sermons, I'd sleep during the sermons. The only thing is, it made my relationship with my mother quite awkward. Anyway, right, so I was asked by Carsten, a Patreon member, if I would show how I would kind of approach Amazing Grace, the tune. I did like an impromptu little bit of playing of it in a video the other day. Actually, let's just talk briefly. So sacred music is where this kind of idea comes from. The idea is that what is fixed is the melody mostly and the words, but the job of musicians back in the day would have been to harmonise the melody themselves. And so you'd have different versions and different settings of the same tune, or the same words even. And so the job of composers like Bach and stuff was to write kind of 4-part harmonies that would complement the words, or some other people would just take that melody and then reharmonize that, and that's where this comes from. So the idea is that you take the melody and you kind of do your own thing with it. So that would be my first place that I would start if I was trying to do this sort of thing. So learn to play the melody in whatever key you're playing it. For me, I could do this in pretty much any key. So first of all, learn it in one key. So I'm playing it in E now. And you want to learn to play this kind of with relative flexibility around the fretboard. Anyway, so you get the idea. You can move this through different keys and stuff. So if I was trying this sort of thing for the first time, I would make note of that melody and make note mentally or physically or whatever about where the melodies are in relation to the root note of each key. So we're on the 5th there, if we're in E with the B, then the E we're on the root, then the 3rd, and that's sort of what's going through my head when I'm playing it in other keys. I can just think, okay, I'm starting on the 5th, so if we were playing it in F, I'm going to start on the C. So I would learn that melody first. Then once you've got that melody, I would add a bass line to it. So I'm going to just play E, then A, then E, then E again, then B, then E again, then A, then E, whoops. You get the idea though, so you're playing a simple bass line to accompany yourself on the melody. Then the next thing that I might do is add in triads, so you can figure out where the triads are which allow your melody note to fall at the top. So this is like a basic way to harmonise stuff. Etc. So you get the idea. So you're finding the inversions that allow your melody note to be at the top of those triads. The next thing you could do is make them into spread triads. Etc. Then the other thing that you could do, I guess, is just harmonise the melody with one other note that isn't the bass line. So you could do this kind of thing. So mostly what I'm doing here is playing things a third below. But you'll find when you do this kind of thing that there's certain notes or harmony that you're playing over where it makes more sense to drop notes. So if I did it like this would be in straight parallel thirds. And you'll find, so like on that first note, the parallel third of this E would be a C sharp, but over E it sounds better if we're playing a B instead. So So that'll be a good thing to try, harmonizing in thirds or sixths, or just not fifths. Right, and then aside from that, that's kind of the basics of what I might suggest. The other little thing that's worth knowing is that you can play the relative minor for most of these chords and it will still sound good. So the relative minor of an E would be C sharp minor, you're down. Of the A it would be F sharp minor. Of the B it would be G sharp minor. So you end up with the option to do things like this. And that kind of can work. So once you're comfortable harmonizing with the bass line, once you're comfortable adding in chords where you want and all that stuff, I would suggest that you could start to add in the relative minors and experiment with using those, and I think that could yield a cool sound. So that would be how I might suggest trying this sort of thing. Start with a melody, add a bass, maybe think about trying to figure out where the triads are. Also figure out harmonizing it with just two notes. Etc. And then also think about maybe using some relative minors and that kind of harmony. And spread triads. So those are my thoughts on how you might try and get this kind of thing going. Hopefully that'll be vaguely interesting to at least Carsten and maybe one or two other people. Start with a melody note, add in a bass note, and I'll tab this stuff out. Then triads with the melody note on top. Think about spreading those triads as well. And then think about using relative minor harmony and harmonizing. And then when you're improvising this stuff, it's sort of mixing all of those ideas together and trying not to mess up. That's basically what I'm doing. Hopefully that makes some sort of sense. The tab for it I'll put up on Patreon. I'm using my Helix right now. Helix Gram Rec 3 is the preset. It'll be in the expression bundle, but it's doing the freezing thing and that sort of stuff. So hopefully that will, help someone out. Cheers!